No one listens to your shit.
Ooh!
Merry Christmas! Ho, 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 ho.
I have a woefully undersubscribed subreddit, so please do me a favour. If you're a Redditor, head on over to r/postmortem studios and talk about anything related to any of my shenanigans. Peace. It's the election. We're going to be voting very soon, and I'm just going to appeal to you flat out, please do not vote Tory. I don't care who else you vote. I would prefer that it was whoever stands the slightest chance in hell of keeping the Tories out in whichever constituency you're in. But just please do not vote Tory. We can't afford it. And this is personal as a nation. And this is personal to me now. If the Tories stay in, they are going to continue to roll out universal credit. They're going to continue to drive more and more people into poverty, more and more people into homelessness. People worry about the costs of the various plans that the other parties have put forward, but can we afford not to do something about this? It's all very well saying you're going to build homes. They promised that before, they never did. Johnson just doesn't seem to care about how people are suffering in the NHS this winter, and the cuts are their fault. And then the additional layers of middle management that we don't need are their fault. And he refused to even look at a picture of a boy with pneumonia forced to lay on a pile of coats in a hospital corridor. They're deliberately starving it of funding to soften it up for privatisation, to make that an easier sell to the public. So far we've resisted, but how long is that going to continue? You know, when Granny dies on a trolley in the hospital car park, I can see some people losing their rag with the NHS rather than the people who are really responsible. We've got teachers in schools washing clothes for the kids, feeding the kids breakfast, lending them money, lending their parents money to keep the house heated. We can't go on like this. You have to ask yourself, do you want to live in a society where this kind of thing goes on, or are you going to take the small amount of pain that a slight increase in tax for all of us would mean to give ourselves a more humanitarian, caring society, more like the Scandinavian nations? Yeah, they pay more tax. They get a hell of a lot more for it. They get a much better healthcare system, even than ours, and ours is a envy of large parts of the world. But theirs is better. Their education's better. Look at Finland. It's not just money, it's approach. But you can't expect the Tories, who are hidebound and traditionalistic, to embrace more modern and effective modes of teaching, because it sounds weird to them. The Tories have been running a massive disinformation campaign, and a lot of spending seems to have been channeled through dodgy groups. I've started reposting after I've done some detective work on the dodgy adverts that are turning up on Facebook, and they're almost exclusively aligned with the Conservatives and aligned with Brexit. And they're just full of bullshit, and they're pretending to be something they're not. Right? And it doesn't take that much effort to track down most of them. Some of them have actually gone a bit more technical and have hidden their who is information. But a vote for the Tories is a vote that shows that these kinds of tactics work, that this is the kind of politics that we want to see in the future. People bald-faced lying to our face and relying on our embarrassment about being lied to not to overturn them. We can't endorse that. Surely the British sense of fair play and justice should stand against that. Yeah, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. We were fooled in the referendum. People were hoodwinked, lied to. And yet so many people still seem wedded to that result, even people who wanted Remain, despite the fact it's been exposed as illegal and corrupt, and they would have been overturned if it were legally binding. And yet here we are. And a vote for the Tories for Brexit, right, is going to end up endorsing the absolute worst excesses of the inhuman, sociopathic Tory right. You might be keen on Brexit, but are you keen on more poor people, more homeless people? Are you keen on tax breaks being given to the rich while services and everything else continue to get squeezed? And Brexit isn't going to be done. We're staring down at least a decade, probably more, of wrangling over trade deals and so on. And even the one that should be the simplest, the one with Europe, is extremely unlikely to be completed by the end of next year, let alone a deal with the Yanks, who very much do want our NHS. Does it matter if the documents were leaked to Labour, to Reddit by the Russians, if the data contained in them is true? And more gets exposed and nobody seems to care. Truth should matter. Policy should be evidence-based, surely. And yet here we are, caught up in the same jingoistic fit of self-immolation that the Americans are caught up in. Surely we're better than this. I'm not too keen on Labour in its current incarnation. Quite a lot of what they say I like. I don't trust them necessarily. But if you vote the Tories back in, at best, we're going to get back to where we were in 2008. We're not going to catch up. And Labour's plans aren't that crazy when you look to other European nations. Some of them are, but a lot of it isn't. Things like renationalising the post office and so on would pay for itself within 7 years or so, according to independent researchers. So why not? Why not bring that into the commons for us all? It's not like the Tories can even privatise things correctly. They've just given away a whole bunch of NHS data to Amazon. For ardent capitalists, they missed a trick selling it, didn't they, to one of the richest corporations in the world. And they also missed a trick by not taxing them properly. A vote for the Tories, a vote again for Brexit, if that's what you're voting for, it's going to empower them to do horrendous and horrible things, to create a hostile atmosphere, even more than they already have, for immigrants, for disabled people, for people like me with mental health issues. We're going to continue to be squeezed, we're going to continue to be marginalised, and we will be, in essence, a failed state, because we won't be feeding our children, we won't be educating our children, we won't be looking after our sick and our infirm. And what's the point of us then? I mean, I'm an anarchist ideologically, but I recognise that there is a role for the state, the way things are set up now, in ensuring that we all have a certain base level of human dignity and decency. And the Tories threaten all that. It's not hyperbole. Look at what they've done already in 10 years. You want to give them another 4, another 5, another 10? Are you insane? You were sold a turkey when it came to Brexit. You were lied to, you were misled. There's no upside to it. There's nothing good about it whatsoever. But at this point, if you're still arguing for it, what's left? You've got to be either thick, and I'm including ignorance under that, or you have to be a racist. All the other reasons have fallen away, peeled off. Every excuse, every reason, every positive that there was supposed to be for it is gone. So what's left? Stubbornness, maybe, as a third, slightly less offensive thing. Yeah, I know, I'm probably not going to convince you, but if the evidence didn't convince you, if the facts haven't convinced you, if these people lying to your face over and over again hasn't convinced you that this was a bad idea, then I doubt me insulting you slightly is going to convince you either, but it can't make things any worse, and it might shock you. Just vote not Tory, please, for my sake. Yeah, do you hate me? Do you want to make my life more difficult? Do you hate disabled people? Do you want to make their lives more difficult? Do you hate kids? This kid's going hungry. That is a problem that is going to be with us for a very long time. Because if you miss out on nutrition when you're young, that has an effect on your physicality, on your nervous system, on your behaviour throughout your entire life. So this is going to haunt us. And nothing's being done about it, and nothing's going to be done about it. The Conservatives' big policy thing seems to be, well, we won't do really much of anything, but look how crazy everyone else is. How can you still want to vote Tory? I mean, okay, Labour's got anti-Semitism problems, but the Tories are racist to everybody. Just please, I implore you, for the good of the country, for the good of our vulnerable, our sick, our needy, our kids, our future, the environment, for everything, really, do not just don't vote Tory. Stay home rather than vote Tory. If you can't swallow your pride, hold your nose and vote for somebody else. Just don't turn out for the Tories. Maybe we can get a workable coalition between Labour and the others to tone down some of their crazy ideas and actually get some traction on improving the country. But fuck me, if you're still voting Tory, that horse that went around kicking UKIP supporters, it's gone around a lot. There's no excuses left for it. Sorry. But fuck you if you vote Tory. Zang.
Do you like t-shirts?
Yeah, boy!
Do you like games?
Certainly.
Are you perhaps a little bit kinky?
Yes, quite.
Then buy one of our B&D t-shirts at Teespring. Teespring.com/stores/postmortem-studios. You want to be cool, don't you?
Does the word duh mean anything to you?
Merry Christmas! Ho, 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 ho.